Footprint roofs discussed in our previous movie are probably the easiest way to create a roof, and they certainly are the easiest way to get the most common forms like hips and gables. However, there's lots of other shapes of roofs that we can create, and in some cases, you'll want to create a roof that's not easily achieved with a footprint roof. So in this movie, I'd like to look at the extrusion roof. This is a good choice for roofs that are barrel vaults or that are curving in one direction and so on. So in this case, I'm going to create an awning that's going to go on the front of this small building here. Now, it's actually on the other side of the building over here, and I'm going to use my view cube over here in the corner to change my orientation. So the way the view cube works is you just highlight the area of the cube that you want to navigate to, and in this case, I can use the little corner right here, and if I click that, it'll spin the view around and show me that I have this little patio on the back side. Let me zoom in a little bit. And let's say that we wanted to put some sort of a curving awning up above this little patio area. Now, I could do that right here in 3D, but it actually might even be easier to do that in an elevation view. So this is the west elevation. And this way I'm looking right at the wall that I want to work on. And to do an extrusion roof, the first step is we have to establish the plane that we want to do the work on. So here on the Architecture tab, if I click the drop down on the roof button, I have Roof by Extrusion right here. I'm going to choose that. Now, that will pop up this box, which will ask me to set my current work plane. You could do that in a variety of ways. If you had a named work plane on this list here that you wanted to use, you could choose it. I don't have anything there. In this case, I'm going to do pick a plane. And what that allows me to do is click OK and use the geometry in the building that's already here as the work plane. So I'm going to select the face of this wall and say that I want to draw directly on that wall. Now, it's still a roof, so Revit will then ask me, okay, well, that's great. What level do you want to associate this roof to? Well, in this case, I only have level 1 and 2, so I'll just put it with level 2, and I'll click OK. That takes me into sketch mode, grays out the drawing as normal, and at this point, I can just sketch the shape that I want my extrusion to be. This is a little different kind of sketch because unlike the footprint sketch, we're not making an enclosed shape here. Instead, we're making an open shape, and the shape you're making is the end of the roof rather than the footprint of the roof. So let me show you. I have a little fun here. I'm going to do something that's a little curvy. So I'm going to use my start-end radius arc, and I'll pick a start point, and then I'll go over here to slight angle and pick an end point, and then I'm setting the radius, right? So then I'll do maybe a radius about that much. Maybe keep going over here and snap it tangent. And if you want, you can change shapes. I can even switch to a straight line at some point, and you can make as whimsical a shape as you want. You don't have to make exactly the shape that I've done here. The key is all you need is one edge for each segment of the roof. In other words, I don't want to wrap around and make an enclosed shape here in this case. Watch what happens when I click Finish. You can see the thickness gets applied to the roof. That comes from the roof type that's being chosen over here, and I'm using a generic 12-inch roof, so that's where this thickness came from. It's 12 inches of material. The only thing about an extrusion roof that's a little odd is if I go back to my 3D view here, it always goes through the building. So Revit, instead of asking us how deep we want the roof to be when we do an extrusion, it makes a guess. And it usually guesses based on the depth of your building. So what I'm going to do here is simply select this, and then there's a little grip here at the end, and I'm going to pull that one out to about there and then say, okay, why don't I make that a whole number? So I'll do about 55 feet there, and I'll do the same thing here, just kind of pull it out here somewhere. And you can see that that gives me a little gap away from the building, which may be my design intent or may not be. So in my case, I want that to be flush up against the building. This is a great job for the Align command. If I go to the Modify tab, click my Align tool, when we've previously looked at the Align tool, we've done it in 2D, but it works just as well here in 3D. I'm going to highlight the face of this wall as my alignment edge, and then I'm going to highlight the face of my roof. And Revit will stretch the roof over and attach it to the face of that wall. So an extrusion roof is also a sketch-based roof. It's just sketched in a vertical plane rather than a horizontal plane. And all you sketch is the overall profile of the roof, and then Revit will extrude it from there. It's good for barrel vaults or for undulating forms like this, and it's another alternative to creating a roof form.